whether the first one, Conrado Vasquez, from 1988 to 1995, followed by Aniano Desierto from 1995 to 2002, or Simeon Marcelo from 2002 to November of 2005, who basically had his health wrecked by the pressures of the job, and Merceditas Gutierrez, December 2005 to the present, have been widely perceived to be disappointments. All bark and no bite, like the Monty Python characters in the clip you just saw. Now, whether deservedly or not, the Ombudsman, instead of being, quote, protectors of the people, as the Constitution puts it, have been perceived to be protectors of the presidents that appointed them. So in the transition from Ramos to Estrada, or whether in the case of the current first couple, ombudsmen have been accused of coddling presidents and their appointees. Now, some have suggested that part of the problem may be that the office itself may have bitten off more than it can logically chew. Now, the ombudsman is appointed by the President of the Philippines from a list of nominees submitted by the Judicial and Bar Council, and for a fixed term of 7 years. The ombudsman has to be at least 40 years old, a lawyer, not recently a candidate for elected office, and of recognized probity and independence. Now, after appointment, the ombudsman heads an independent constitutional commission, which is not under the supervision or control of the President or of Congress. Now, the Constitution in Article 11 on the accountability of public officers in Section 12 confers a broad mandate on the ombudsman. Let's see what it is. Quote, the ombudsman and his deputies, as protectors of the people, shall act promptly on complaints filed in any form or manner against public officials or employees of the government, or any subdivision, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including government-owned or controlled corporations, and shall, in appropriate cases, notify the complainants of the action taken and the results thereof. Now, the exceptions to the disciplinary authority of the ombudsman, who can suspend people upon probable cause, are the exceptions being are the President, the Vice President, and Justices of the Supreme Court, otherwise known as our impeachable officials. Also, not subject to being removed from office or suspended are members of Congress and the judiciary in general. But the Ombudsman has the power to investigate these and any and all officials for the purpose of filing, let's say, articles of impeachment in the case of impeachable officials. The Ombudsman, on the other hand, can only be removed from office by means of impeachment. So far, so good. Problema mo, isumbong mo sa Ombudsman in layman's terms. But when you look at the Ombudsman's website, formally speaking, the Ombudsman has 5 major functions. First, public assistance. Second, graft prevention. Third, investigation. Fourth, prosecution. And finally, fifth, administrative adjudication. Of these, the first, public assistance, and the third, investigation, and the fifth, administrative adjudication, are the sort of functions ombudsmen around the world are expected to undertake. But it's functions 2 and 4, graft prevention and prosecution, that are perhaps uniquely Filipino characteristics of the ombudsman's functions, going all the way back to Manahan's Complaints and Action Committee. Now, if you notice, the ombudsman's website refers to her as the Tanod Bayan. Now, we know from law expert Father Joaquin Bernas that there were originally separate investigative and prosecutorial functions, ended up being merged because of Republic Act 6770. The Ombudsman investigates. The Tanod Bayan, who happens to be the Ombudsman, prosecutes. The Sandigan Bayan is the court that handles criminal cases concerning graft and corruption of government officials with a salary grade of 23 or higher. Now, yesterday, Father Bernas, in his column, gave us an insight into what he and his fellow constitutional commissioners were thinking when they decided to set up the position of ombudsman. At the time, there already existed the position of Tanod Bayan, who was investigator and prosecutor of official wrongdoing with broad powers. Now, Bernas says that at first, the Constitutional Commission wanted to separate investigation from prosecution. In its place, they'd set up an ombudsman, ideally a person of great personal prestige who would be a people's advocate, someone to run to and be a busybody on your behalf. In the commission, former Senator Francisco Soc Rodrigo argued against an ombudsman in the traditional sense of the word, saying that without prosecutorial powers, no one would pay any attention to the ombudsman. But the Constitutional Commission persisted and established an office more along the lines of someone to run to and who would make a fuss on behalf of citizens. The Ombudsman, however, could, if necessary, file a case with the newly created position of Special Prosecutor, who had replaced the old Tanod Bayan, and who could then prosecute whatever cases were filed in the Sandigan Bayan. Now, this suggests Bernas resulted in a right royal mess. When Raul Gonzalez was Tanod Bayan, he directed the filing of cases before the Sandigan Bayan and was challenged before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in Zaldivar versus Sandigan Bayan in 1988 effectively tied the hands of the special prosecutor. This was how Father Bernas put it. The Supreme Court concluded that since the power to investigate had been given by Section 13, Paragraph 1 to the Section 1 to the Ombudsman, the special prosecutor could neither investigate nor prosecute unless authorized by the Ombudsman. Now, according to Bernas, this led to a strange situation. What now was the special prosecutor, also set up under the new government, supposed to do? All the more so that since under Republic Act 6770, passed in 1989, actual prosecutorial powers were conferred on the Ombudsman. According to Father Bernas, and we quote, "In the mind of the Supreme Court, there is this strange phenomenon. The special prosecutor created by the Constitution has no authority to prosecute unless authorized by the Ombudsman, who himself, under the Constitution, was not originally meant to be a prosecutor." End quote. So Bernas points out that now, in fact, Special Prosecutor Dennis Villa Ignacio claims that the Tanod Bayan or Ombudsman is actively sidelining the Special Prosecutor. So could the Ombudsman be suffering from a design defect in her position? Or is our Ombudsman like Martin Lando, playing the role of Bela Lugosi in the film Ed Wood? Take a look.
Bella, I have 25 scenes to shoot tonight.
Oh, sorry, don't let me slow you down.
Okay. All right? All right. All right, let's put it on film. Camera?
We're rolling.
Sound?
Yet we don't have sound.
Oh. And action! That was perfect.
So to put it simply, is she faking it? And is the solution, as Senator Manuel Rojas II has proposed, to authorize Congress to appoint special prosecutors as the need arises because the Ombudsman isn't doing her job? We'll hear from some of our viewers and our panel after this.
Books featured by The Explainer are available on shelves or on order at a different bookstore.
Welcome back. Now we're talking about how the job of the Ombudsman came about and what it's become. And what it's become, according to some, is a big pain in the butt. Now, the only reason this is in the news, of course, and why we're talking about it tonight is because there has been a case filed in the House of Representatives, an impeachment complaint, and of course, people now want to know whether this is, has basis or not. Now, we're asking our clever panel here to weigh in on the on the discussion. Now, during the break, you were like bursting with
No, well, no. I thought we ought to get down to a simple description, really, of what the Ombudsman's function is, and I think the key word is complaints. Okay, it's like a company or a school or someplace that has a complaint box, and there's someone in charge of that complaint box. Now, the main duty of the person in charge of the complaint box is to read the complaints and then to reply to the complaints. That's the main thing. When I read the Constitution about the Ombudsman, that's the main thing that stands out to me. You're supposed to take complaints from any agency of the government. In this case, the Supreme Court and the Senate have already complained to her about things. Then the main duty, I think, of the Ombudsman is to investigate those complaints, and then really the main, is just to inform the complaint is about what she did.
Well, I mean, that's clearly
About
stated
those
in the
things.
Constitution that
That's
after
correct.
the complaint is made, they're supposed to inform both the complainant and the complainee
That's
about
right.
what the findings
Now,
were.
the point I want to make, Manolo, which I think many people don't realize, is that this is a duty to reply. It is not some kind of right to reply, option to reply, or maybe she will reply, or when she
Suggestion.
wants to reply, a suggestion to reply. It's not. It is a constitutional duty of the ombudsman to reply.
Well, let's point out, not just of the ombudsman.
Very
I mean, if you
simple.
look at the administrative code, every government official, the moment you send a letter, of course, it hasn't been updated, so maybe we
Section
can
3
debate
of the Civil Service Law.
if it applies to emails or not. But anytime